Welcome, business leaders and technologists. Today, we are exploring the true engine behind Microsoft 365 Copilot, Microsoft Graph. We will uncover how understanding the capabilities of Microsoft Graph is the key to unlocking secure, intelligent, and highly contextual AI for your enterprise. Let's get started. Welcome to this crucial session on Microsoft 365 Copilot. To truly grasp how Copilot delivers business value, we must first understand its central nervous system, Microsoft Graph. What is Microsoft Graph? By definition, it is the connective layer and API gateway for your organization's entire digital workspace. The basics are simple but profound. It links people, documents, conversations, and calendars together. Why is this vital for AI? An AI language model on its own is just a generic reasoning engine. It knows how to write, but it does not know your business. By integrating with Microsoft Graph, Copilot delivers insights grounded in your real, everyday business context. How does it do this? Copilot queries Graph to securely fetch your organizational data the moment you ask a question. For our deep dive, think of Graph not merely as a database, but as a dynamic map of relationships. It inherently understands that you work closely with a specific colleague, prioritizing the documents they recently shared with you. This relational intelligence is what makes Copilot feel incredibly smart and tailored to your specific workflow. Take a look at the flowchart on your screen. It beautifully illustrates the central role of Microsoft Graph. At the top, we have Microsoft 365 Copilot, which serves as your AI interface. Notice how Copilot does not connect directly to your individual applications. Instead, it queries Microsoft Graph, the large blue node in the center. Graph acts as the ultimate orchestrator. It seamlessly branches out to connect with Microsoft Teams for your chats, SharePoint and OneDrive for your files, Outlook for your emails, and Enter ID for your security identity. This hub-and-spoke architecture means that when you ask Copilot a question, it can simultaneously pull insights from a meeting transcript in Teams, a PDF in SharePoint, and an email thread in Outlook, synthesizing them into a single, cohesive answer. This unified access model is the bedrock of enterprise generative AI. Let's move to our second slide, which addresses the most common question leaders ask: is our data secure? With Microsoft Graph, the answer is a definitive yes. What we are talking about here is the trust boundary. Microsoft Graph enforces strict role-based access control, or RBC, across every Copilot interaction. The basics are non-negotiable. Copilot only has access to the exact data that the signed-in user already has permission to view. Why is this critical? Because it ensures that an AI assistant cannot be used as a backdoor to bypass security protocols or accidentally leak highly sensitive information, such as payroll data or unannounced merger documents. How does Graph enforce this? Every time a prompt is submitted, Graph validates the user's Microsoft Enter ID token in real time, immediately filtering out restricted files so the AI never even sees them. For a deep dive, it's vital to understand that deploying Copilot inside your Microsoft 365 tenant does not grant the AI global visibility. The AI adopts the user's specific permissions. Furthermore, your data fetched by Graph is never used to train Microsoft's foundational public models. This decision tree highlights the absolute security mechanism built into Microsoft Graph. We start at the top with the user prompt. Before any AI magic happens, the request must pass through the Microsoft Graph auth gate. This is your security bouncer. If the system detects that a user is trying to query confidential HR files they don't own, the path branches to the right, data blocked from AI. The AI is completely shielded from this data. However, for files where permissions are verified, the flow moves down the green path to access allowed data. Only this approved, secure subset of information is sent forward for Copilot grounding. This visual proves to your stakeholders that deploying Microsoft 365 Copilot actively honors and enforces the exact data governance policies you have already established in your enterprise. Now, let's explore the actual mechanics of how Copilot thinks. We call this Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, orchestrated by Microsoft Graph. What is RAG? It is the architectural process Copilot uses to fetch specific context from Graph before it ever attempts to generate an answer. The basics are straightforward. RAG prevents the AI from hallucinating or guessing facts by forcing the model to read your verified documents first. Why do we use this architecture? Because business leaders don't need generic internet answers. You need accurate, highly relevant, and actionable responses anchored in your company's reality. How is this executed? When you submit a prompt, Copilot pauses. It asks Microsoft Graph to search for related files. Graph returns that data. Copilot augments your original prompt with those exact paragraphs, and only then does it send the package to the large language model. Our deep dive focus is on data residency. This entire round-trip operation happens securely inside the Microsoft 365 service boundary, with all data fully encrypted in transit. Let's walk through this sequence diagram to see the RG process in action, step by step. In step 1, the user submits a prompt to Copilot. Now look at step 2, Copilot intercepts this and immediately queries Microsoft Graph to pre-process and search for context. In step 3, Graph securely returns the grounding data, your emails, chats, and files. In step 4, Copilot combines your original prompt with this fresh data to create a grounded prompt, which it securely sends to the Azure OpenAI LLM. In step 5, the LLM reads the facts and generates a highly contextual, accurate response. Finally, in step 6, Copilot delivers this secure answer back to the user. This visualization clearly demonstrates that Microsoft Graph is the intelligent middleman that turns a generic AI model into a specialized corporate assistant. To fully leverage Copilot, we must understand the massive scope of data that Microsoft Graph manages. What exactly is in the graph? By definition, it is the comprehensive ecosystem of applications and services that Microsoft actively indexes and connects. At a basic level, Graph has native access to all Microsoft 365 core services. This includes your Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint decks, Outlook emails, Teams chats, SharePoint sites, and OneDrive files. Why is this immense scope so important? Because modern business problems are rarely confined to a single app. A vast data scope ensures that Copilot can answer complex questions that span multiple departments and varied file types seamlessly. How does it manage this? Graph exposes advanced REST APIs and client libraries that constantly map the interactions and signals between these services in the background. Diving deeper, Graph isn't just about Office documents. It extends into IT operations by connecting to enterprise mobility and security services, Windows device telemetry, and even Dynamics 365 Business Central, making it a true enterprise-wide knowledge graph. This mind map breaks down the incredible breadth of Microsoft Graph's domain. At the center is the root node, Microsoft Graph. Branching to the top right, we see the M365 core services, which encompass the daily tools your employees use, Teams chats, Outlook emails, SharePoint sites, and OneDrive files. But look at the bottom right branch, Advanced Services. Graph goes far beyond basic files by indexing Microsoft Entra ID for identity, Dynamics 365 for business processes, and Windows telemetry for device health. Finally, on the bottom left, the Security and Auth branch reminds us that all this connectivity is governed by strict permissions and compliance filters. When Copilot is activated, it taps into this entire mind map simultaneously to assist your workforce. What happens if your most critical business data lives outside of Microsoft? Slide 5 introduces a game changer, Copilot connectors. What are they? Copilot connectors are specialized tools designed to ingest and index non-Microsoft enterprise data directly into Microsoft Graph. The basics are highly practical. These connectors allow your Microsoft 365 Copilot to seamlessly search and reason over third-party platforms like Jira, ServiceNow, Salesforce, or Google Drive. Why is this capability essential? Because the modern enterprise is a multi-cloud environment. If you isolate your AI to only read Microsoft documents, you severely limit its business value and operational reach. How do we build this bridge? Your IT admins configure these connectors within the M365 Admin Center, safely ingesting external data into Graph's semantic index. For our deep dive, the most critical engineering feature is permission mirroring. When content is ingested via Copilot connectors, Microsoft Graph strictly honors the source system's access control lists. If a user cannot view a ticket in ServiceNow, Copilot will not let them see it in Teams. Let's observe how Copilot connectors expand our AI's intelligence using this left-to-right flow. On the far left, we have third-party systems like ServiceNow, Jira, Salesforce, or custom databases. Through the use of a Copilot connector, the data from these external platforms flows securely into the central purple node, the Microsoft Graph Semantic Index. Because Graph has ingested this data, it becomes a native part of the knowledge base. This enriched graph then feeds directly into Microsoft 365 Copilot. The final result on the right is holistic enterprise answers. This visual perfectly demonstrates how Microsoft Graph eliminates data silos, allowing Copilot to answer questions that require synthesizing a Word document with a live ServiceNow support ticket. Let's shift from using out-of-the-box Copilot to building your own solutions. How does Graph support extensibility? We do this through Microsoft Copilot Studio. By definition, we are using Microsoft Graph as the foundational intelligence layer when building custom AI agents. The basics of Copilot Studio are that it is a low-code platform allowing you to build bespoke copilots tailored to your highly unique business workflows. Why do we need Graph here? Because a custom HR agent or IT support bot needs to understand the user's specific context, their reporting structure, and their secure enterprise documents to be truly helpful. How is this achieved? In Copilot Studio, makers can easily select Microsoft Graph as a primary knowledge source with just a few clicks, instantly grounding the custom agent in secure M365 data. For our deep dive, developers can go even further. They can use Graph REST APIs within Copilot Studio as actions. This allows a custom agent to not just read data, but perform transactions like automatically looking up an employee's manager in Enter ID and booking a meeting on their calendar. This diagram illustrates the dual power of Microsoft Graph within Copilot Studio. At the top, we have your newly built custom agent. It branches into knowledge and actions. Let's follow the left path. By adding the Microsoft Graph knowledge source, the agent gains the ability to perform grounding via SharePoint and emails. This makes the agent smart. Now follow the right path. By integrating Graph REST API actions, the agent gains the ability to execute tasks, leading to transactional capabilities like booking meetings or updating planner tasks. This visual emphasizes that Microsoft Graph provides both the brains, knowledge, and the hands, actions, for any custom AI agent you build. As AI matures, we are moving from general assistants to specialized experts. Slide 7 introduces specialized agents, researcher, and analyst. What are these? They are task-oriented AI agents within the Copilot ecosystem that heavily leverage Microsoft Graph to execute deep, specialized workflows. The basics: the researcher agent excels at massive knowledge discovery and synthesis, while the analyst agent thinks like a data scientist, transforming raw data into insights. Why do we need them? While standard Copilot is excellent for drafting a quick email, complex strategic tasks require agents capable of multi-step, sustained reasoning across massive enterprise datasets. How do they function? They rely entirely on Microsoft Graph to pull extensive context-spanning internal secure files, past meetings, and trusted external web data, applying chain-of-thought reasoning to solve problems iteratively. The deep dive here is spectacular. An analyst agent can use Graph to locate raw financial data in Excel, autonomously write and execute code in the background to identify trends, and output a polished, highly accurate visualization right into your team's chat. Let's review how an organization routes complex work to specialized agents using this workflow. A user request comes in and hits a decision node. Choose agent. If the task requires deep discovery like compiling a dossier on a competitor, it routes to the researcher agent. If the task requires data modeling like forecasting quarterly revenue, it routes to the analyst agent. Both of these specialized agents converge on the central orange node, queries Microsoft Graph. Graph supplies the massive contextual data payload required for these advanced models to operate. The final result is a synthesized multi-step output that saves human workers dozens of hours of manual labor. Graph is the fuel that makes specialized agents possible. Let's tie all of these capabilities together with a powerful, real-world use case that demonstrates the immense value of Microsoft Graph. Imagine an operations team dealing with a sudden global shipping delay. The director needs a comprehensive summary of supply chain risks immediately. What is the process? The director prompts Microsoft 365 Copilot, asking for a supply chain risk assessment. Now, let's look at the basics of how Graph executes this. Copilot queries Graph on behalf of the director. Why is this so powerful? Because the risk data isn't in one place. Compiling it manually would take days, delaying critical executive decisions. How does Graph solve this? It instantly reaches into Outlook to scan recent vendor emails regarding delays. It pulls inventory metrics from Excel dashboards in SharePoint, and it extracts recent decisions made by the logistics team in a Teams chat. Our deep dive is the final output. Graph feeds this diverse, cross-silo data to the LLM, which synthesizes a concise, actionable report. The director receives a unified view of the crisis in seconds, without exposing restricted content, proving that Microsoft Graph is the ultimate engine for enterprise agility. Let's walk through this sequence diagram to see exactly how this supply chain use case unfolds in real time. It begins on the far left when the operations director submits a prompt to Microsoft 365 Copilot, asking to summarize supply chain risks. Copilot doesn't go straight to the AI model. Instead, it moves to the second step, sending a context request to Microsoft Graph using the director's secure identity. Graph does the heavy lifting, retrieving data across multiple silos, returning relevant vendor emails, Excel data, and Teams chats simultaneously. Copilot then takes this rich, structured data and bundles it with the original request, sending a fully grounded prompt to the Azure OpenAI LLM. The LLM processes the facts, generates a synthesized risk report, and hands it back to Copilot, which delivers the actionable summary to the director. This seamless flow, entirely brokered by Microsoft Graph, is how generative AI becomes a true enterprise tool.